It is Cadillac Unscripted, show number 2 on 107.9 CDY. We are so glad you have joined us for this. Katy Huckle is across the console from me right now. Hi, Katy.
Hi there. Good morning.
This is a very exciting time. We have talked for many, many years about doing a radio show together.
We have.
And talking to people who either have or in the past done great things for the Cadillac area.
Yes.
And who's joining us today?
That's right. So we said the show was going to be feel good, good vibes, and the Smith family left us recently, and it was hard for Cadillac. They were such a bright light in the Cadillac community, and for reasons for the family, they moved out east, and we've got them on the line with us today. We have Dan and Maggie and Hefrani Smith, and so many folks in the community are interested in Hefrani's journey and the family's journey. They gave so much to Cadillac, and we were sad when they left, but we're so interested and excited to hear how they're doing now. So, Dan, we miss you guys.
Well, thank you, and we miss you and all of Cadillac. It's such a great place that has blessed us so well over the years, and it's very disappointing to have to leave it. But we're thankful to be able to reconnect with you. I'm sitting in the Keene Family YMCA now as I talk with you, and just above me is one of the workout areas. So occasionally you may hear some banging as people drop weights or what have you. But we are thankful to be together as a family here, and mindful of all the friends that we've left behind in Cadillac and all the ways that they've supported us over the years. We sure do miss all of you.
That's going to be a nice radio reunion here.
That's right, a radio reunion. I love it.
Yeah.
Dan, can you tell us a little bit about the timeline? I've got some specific questions I know that I sent you folks, but can you tell us about the timeline from Hefrani's surgery to the move, to the recovery, to your new job? We're interested in the whirlwind that the Smiths have been living in.
It certainly was a whirlwind. I mean, if you remember, our whole motive in making the switch was to get into the footprint of Boston Children's Hospital so that Hefrani could have her liver transplant done there and see the oncologist for her cancer treatments there as well. And we sought out a place that would be like Cadillac because we really do think of Cadillac as home so much. And so we found that here in Keene, New Hampshire, and had accepted a job, I think, in first week of April or last week of March, and started our plan to move. And we were 1 week away from Hefrani and I leaving Cadillac to get out here and get settled and get Hefrani established for care at Boston Children's. When on a Friday evening, the doctor's office in Michigan at University of Michigan called and said Hefrani has made it to the liver transplant list, which is a journey. It's a lot of work to get put on that list, and they said she's got a low MELD score, they call it, of only, I think it was 6. And typically, people don't get a transplant unless that number is more like a 50. And they said, we knew once we got you listed, we'd have to write a letter to the National Board of Transplants to justify why Hefrani needs more points, to get her more points so that she could be higher up on that list. And so they said, so we're 99% certain you won't get a call, but at least you're on the list, and that hurdle has been cleared. And so that was Friday night. And Sunday morning at 2 a.m., I got a phone call from the surgeon, and I swear he kind of sounded like a used car salesman, like it's the typical thing. He was like, "Hey, this is why I think this liver would be good for you. The texture's right," and he's going on describing all these liver things, and I've just woken up. I've got no idea what he's talking about. And finally, I'm like, "Doc, it sounds like you're telling me you got a liver for Hefrani." And he says, yeah. And I said, and it sounds like you're asking me if I want it.
I love it.
And he said, well, I am. And I said, why would anybody say no to that? So he said, well, get in the car then and come on down.
Wow.
And so, we got in the car and we made our way down there and to Ann Arbor from Cadillac. And, of course, that's a 3-hour drive. And when we got out, we left when it was dark. And when we get out of the car and got down there, and we all get out, we kind of take a look at each other, and we just had a good laugh because all of us except for Hanisi, Hefrani's older sister, had gotten changed. And Hanisi's still in her pajamas, and she's like, well, I didn't know we were changing. It was the middle of the night. Of course, now it's daylight.
Oh, I love it.
And then we get into the hospital, and we start to go through the bags that are packed, and Hefrani knows that her mother won't let her take her favorite blanket or her stuffed animal to the hospital unless it's been washed. So Hefrani packed it in her bag, but then only packed a T-shirt and nothing else. So we get down there and pull out her bag and discover all she has is a T-shirt. But anyway, we packed for I think a couple of days. They hadn't had the chance to give us an orientation on what a transplant, what was involved in that, and what it would mean when it would occur, and that was usually they get you on the list, and then they schedule an appointment for that to go through that orientation, and so we weren't prepared, and by that evening she had a very successful surgery. I think it took somewhere from 4 to 6 hours, and she came out of it just fine, and eventually we learned that we thought she might be in the hospital for a few days, and then, we'd make the journey out here and switch the care out here, and we learned very quickly that was just the wrong perspective. That's not the way this works. So it became clear that she couldn't return to Cadillac, and therefore Maggie couldn't either. And so I had to start work the following week, so at the end of the week I needed to get out here to New Hampshire. And so that left Hanisi alone in Cadillac to finish the school year.
Wow. Oh my goodness. So I have to ask Maggie and Hefrani, what went through your minds when you found out we're never going to live in Cadillac again? Now we're down in Ann Arbor, and this was successful, and I know you felt so blessed about the transplant surgery going well, but what was going through your mind when you found out you weren't going to come back to Cadillac?
Well, for me, it was a whole lot of mixed emotions, I was feeling mostly sad. The fact that I wasn't going to come back to Cadillac, and I couldn't say goodbye to my friends, my colleagues at Baker College, and the folks at our church, Zion Lutheran Church. It was really hard. And even today, I'm here in Keene, and it's surreal. I still think that I'm still in Cadillac, and I'm not. Right. So, I'm happy for what happened. That's for Hefrani, but I'm still pretty much really sad that I couldn't go back to Cadillac and say goodbye to my friends.
Right. How about you, Hefrani? What was going through your mind during this time?
At first, I was mad because I was supposed to hang out with my friends and say goodbye, but then I couldn't. Yep. But then I didn't really mind it because everything was turning out good. Oh,
that's awesome. Hefrani, when you saw the scrapbook that the kids in the community made for you, and the quilt that Mayor Filkins and Gayla Finstrom made for you, how did those things make you feel?
I was really happy that they were thinking about me, and I was grateful for them always being there, and it just really made me feel good.
Awesome. They wanted to wrap you up in love when you left. That was what those ladies told me. So, Dan, can you tell us the next phase of the journey? Now you're out in Keene. You've got the new job. You're meeting your new staff. How did that all go?
The transition out here was surreal. We were now effectively homeless. We had originally planned that Maggie and the girls would stay in Cadillac to finish the school year, and I would come out later and empty the house. Now with this switch, we emptied the house, and I moved it all out here and stuck it in a container. And so I was staying in. I was couch surfing basically for the next few months. So since I've been out here, I've lived in I think 7 or 8 different places for various lengths of time. And some of that time I had family with me, and sometimes I didn't. But now we have settled. We have a house, and we've got everything unpacked, and we're sort of establishing our nest again. But yeah, the beginning stage was it was hard. I wanted to be back home with Hefrani and Maggie, and dealing with just sort of the scary process that living in a hospital and living through a transplant can be. And yet I couldn't, and I just didn't have the same support system here that I have in Cadillac, so that was challenging too. But I think after I'd been out here a couple of weeks, I flew back to Michigan and visited Maggie and Hefrani, and somebody was kind enough to get Hanisi down to Ann Arbor as well, so we could all kind of reunite. But Hefrani ended up having a complication on that weekend where there was a bowel obstruction, which has nothing to do with the liver, but it's a complication that can occur anytime they open your gut for a surgery. And so she became the sickest we've seen her in the 3 years that she's been fighting cancer. And it was really very scary for that week. And it took them a week to determine what it was, and to ultimately decide it wasn't going to rectify itself, and so they had to do another surgery to basically untwist the bowel and then sew her back up again. And so for her liver transplant, she spent 6 days in the hospital and then moved to a location near the hospital for daily visits. From the bowel obstruction, she actually spent 2 weeks in the hospital, so she had a longer stay because of the complication than the transplant.
Wow. Wow. So you get through the transplant and you just think everything's going to be smooth sailing, and then this happens. Maggie, what was going through your mind when she got sick?
Oh, I was really worried. I was worried and just didn't know what to do when it is your child. You just have to believe that the doctors know what they're doing, and that everything will go well.
That's right. And you have to be strong for her.
And it's so hard as a parent to take your hands off the wheel, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So all this is happening, and where's Hanisi now?
Well, during that phase, Cadillac's such a spectacular community. With the suddenness of that surgery, we suddenly had to pack up the house. That wasn't in our plan, and we had like 2 days to do that. And so Hanisi arranged for the I'm going to get the name of the team wrong, but it's the girls, Sisters of the Fat Viking team. They all came over to our house, and those girls packed up our house.
Wow.
It all up for us, and then we had other members of the community come out on Friday morning and load up the truck with me. And Katy, I know you were there for that. You worked out with Herman to provide lunch to the crew that packed it up for us, loaded up the truck, and so many people just stepped up. And on that Friday, they stepped up again. Kelly Smith, the president at Baker College, she said, I'll take Hanisi in, and she can finish the school year from my house. And Pat Goggin, he loaned Hanisi a car for a few days so she could get herself situated over there. And Hanisi, an incredibly mature young woman for her age, she suddenly had a month and a half without family. And she looked after herself and kept her grades up and, did everything just right, worked through all of her logistical needs on a day-to-day basis using friends and the community and Kelly. And then from there she had camp experiences and mission trips lined up throughout the summer, and so she managed to get herself to those experiences and to and from airports to get to those places. I mean, she navigated that all like a champion, and eventually ended up here in Keene. She was the first one to get to Keene, besides me, and of course she's here now and enjoying Keene and the schools here now. So yeah, that's how she experienced it, I guess.
Can we talk to Hefrani a little bit about school? I know you were excited about the curriculum, Hefrani, and some of the options. Can you tell us how it's going?
It's really nice. The school is really cool, and I like how they have these clusters, so you know everybody, and then you always have classes with the same people.
Have you made new friends?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, so how's the lunch food? You know, we got to ask that question to a teenager. How's the lunchroom? How's the food?
They have smiley fries.
Done.
That's the only good thing.
We'll tell our lunch ladies that. That'll make them smile, my dear. Maggie, picking out the new house. And Dan's out shopping for houses. You're back, you know, with Hefrani in Ann Arbor. How does that work with you two?
That was very challenging.
I bet.
No, it was very difficult, but we got through it. You know, he'd go look at houses, and he'd send me a picture of the house, and we'd talk about it, and yeah.
That's right. And
I think we ended up with 3 or 4 different houses under offer throughout the process before we finally took the one we had. And part of the problem was the market out here was such that within 24 hours of a house being listed, you'd have 3 offers.
Oh my goodness!
That's a very fast window of drop what you're doing, go see the house, decide if you want to offer, and you know, trying to explain to Maggie what I was looking at and whether or not I thought it worked. I mean, that was. I thought I was going to die from that.
So, Dan, here you come on as the executive of That Why, and you've got so many things going on at the same time. How did you juggle all of that?
Well, I think actually the work of the Why was a good distraction to be able to immerse myself in the building and the activities here, so I didn't have to think about the stress that was going on in our personal lives. I think that actually was somewhat helpful, and people here knew what was going on. You know, like I was here 2 weeks, and I went home, and she had the complication and the bowel obstruction, and so I had to call them up and say, "Well, I'm not coming back this week." You know, they were supportive of me for that and made accommodation for that. And so, yeah, the work was a good distraction, and it's so similar to what I was doing in Cadillac that the learning curve is really more about relationships, not necessarily about the mechanics of what I do on a day-to-day basis. And so I think that was a real blessing.
Wow. The family during this time, you've got, you know, 3 different pods of people in different places. How did everybody communicate during that time? Was it FaceTime? Was it texting? Was it phone calls? Was it a combination?
It was a mix of all those. We're not the best at communicating by phone with each other, so I think we were all wanting for more and for better communication. But yeah, we did various forms of that, and I don't think we ever did it as a group. We would do kind of one-on-one with each other. That way.
Okay. I'm interested to hear from each of you, out of all of it, what was the hardest? And let's start with Hefrani. This whole timeline in the whirlwind and the roller coaster, what was the most difficult, Hefrani?
I was in a place where I didn't have any friends around me,
Yep.
and I always had to be inside.
Okay.
The same area.
And this is after the surgery, too. You had to stay inside, didn't you?
Kind of.
Okay. How about for you, Maggie?
For me, I think the most difficult is that I did not have any closure leaving Cadillac.
Okay.
That was the biggest part for me.
Yeah.
I just felt sad for a long time. I still do.
Right. Well, we miss you too, so we're sad too. But we're so happy that everybody's healthy, All right, boss, how about for you?
For me, and I think it's a fear that's still there. The hardest thing is the fear that I could lose Hefrani, and that anxiety has been with us since her first diagnosis in 2010, and it not 10, sorry, when she was 10, and 2016, and that doesn't really go away. Every now and then I check myself and I realize I'm anxious and I'm worried. And when I think about it, I realize it's about her and her health. And even though now she's theoretically cured and all we have to do is surveillance, that it's been such an anxious 3 years that it's hard for my emotional side to believe that this fight could be done.
Right. You wait for the other shoe to drop because you have to be prepared. Yeah.
Did the doctors, Dan, tell you that there was that there's a statute of limitations on this new liver, or are you looking at a as long as everything goes well, a healthy rest of the life?
Yeah. So I don't know that we've got into specific discussion with our doctors about that. There was one of the surgeons at one point pointed at me and said, if you told me you had a liver transplant when you were a kid, I'd believe you. He's like, because this is what, Hefrani's going to look like when she's your age, like, bald and sexy.
Awesome. I love it. He's the same guy, everybody.
Hefrani just hit me. So I think in terms of life expectancy, there's added risk. She could have rejection 40 years from now. And so, there's added risk, but generally speaking, she should be able to have a normal life moving forward.
That's great.
What a gift.
Regular doctor visits, obviously, happening the rest of her life.
Correct. And right now that's on a every 2 months basis with scans on a quarterly basis. And we've been through a round of that, the scans, and they declared, there's nothing there, everything's fine. So she is cancer-free at the moment. So.
Awesome. Congratulations, Hefrani.
Part 2 of our conversation with the Smith family coming up next on 107.9 CDY. It's Cadillac Unscripted, sponsored by Baker College of Cadillac, RE/MAX Central, Marianne Quist, and Independent Bank. Buying a home is still the great American dream. And yes, it can be an intimidating process, but you can rest assured and have confidence when the professionals from RE/MAX Central are in your corner to guide you through it. Marianne Quist of RE/MAX Central has helped hundreds of home buyers in and around the Cadillac area navigate the process over the years, and she's ready to help you too. From start to finish, from finding a home to submitting an offer, to understanding the purchase agreement, to inspections, surveys, and appraisals, to the time when you finally sit down and sign those closing documents, Marianne will be there. When you're ready to buy, talk to Marianne Quist at RE/MAX Central. See her listings at teamquist.com.
The world needs more. It needs people who respect each other, who look out for each other, who make decisions that help communities, help families, and help others build better futures for everyone. It needs people to be more, to step up and do the right thing. I'm Kelly Smith, president of Baker College Cadillac. Baker has been building better futures for over 100 years. Go to baker.edu to learn how you can take steps to be more.
This is Cadillac Unscripted on 107.9 CDY, sponsored by Baker College of Cadillac, Independent Bank, and RE/MAX Central, Marianne Quist. Our remaining moments with the Smith family now on 107.9 CDY.
I want to hear from everybody on what's your favorite, and so many of us have never been to New Hampshire. What's your favorite part about that part of the country? Let's talk to Hefrani first. What's your favorite?
The mountain.
All right. How about you, Maggie?
For me, I think the winter here is not as bad as Cadillac.
You got that right.
We didn't have that much snow, so it's good with me.
Okay. How about you, Dan?
I really appreciate the mountains and the people.
Great. Oh my gosh. Okay, so now we have to ask. I mean, we know you miss us, but what do you miss most about Cadillac? What is it? The parks? Is it the lakes? Is it
the people?
Yes. How about that part, Dan?
Yeah, the radio shows by far. Cadillac is like your favorite sweatshirt. You wear it all the time because you just feel the hug that it is when you wear it and the comfort it brings you. And so I miss that. And I love the way that the whole community embraced us, even as we were leaving. And they really demonstrated their love well. And I think that makes it really, really hard to be away from it.
Wow. How about you, Maggie? Did we say already?
Yes, I'm here. I miss everything about Cadillac. I miss the lakes. I miss the people. I miss Maya the most.
The grocery store, huh?
Yeah. I miss our church family.
Yeah. I know that your church family misses you. That is a fact. Hefrani, what do you miss the most?
My old house.
Oh, I loved your old house. Yeah, it was a great house. So, when you sum it all up, your strength, where did it come from? Because it took Herculean strength to get through this. The entire group. Where did it come from, Dan?
I don't know that it felt like strength, but I think it came from necessity.
Okay.
It came from the support of so many, and I think it came from a lot of prayer. We had so many sleepless nights and just so much constant worry. And as we're coming off of that, I think we feel sort of the post-traumatic stress of that still. It felt like a weak process, not a strong process, but we're so thankful to be to this side of it.
Well, from the outside looking in, you all looked very, very strong. Maggie, did you want to say where your strength came from during that time?
Same as Dan. For me, I strongly feel like the prayers, holding up the faith, that for me was very important. The love of and support of our friends and the community that helps keep us going, I guess.
Okay.
I think one of the places of strength was actually Hefrani.
Yeah.
Because she would constantly talk about how she wasn't actually sick. For her, she always behaved as though this was just like I've got a Band-Aid on my wrist kind of a thing. Like she took it as though it had no great significance. And so that helped reassure us, and me in particular, a lot, seeing that inner strength in her.
Hefrani, what kept you strong?
When it doesn't really affect you that much until like the end. So it's just like from all the people around you who are telling you that you're strong, I think that just helps.
Wow.
I have to say, it's hard enough for a family to pull up stakes and move partway across the country when you don't have a sick child.
Right.
So you as a family must look back at this and say, man, if we can tackle that, we can handle anything.
I don't know.
I think, something happened over Christmas break where we briefly talked about how long it's been since Maggie's been able to return to Fiji and see her family. And we talked about maybe, next Christmas she could go. And I think that's the first time in a long time where I felt like we had the ability to look forward and plan anything. Everything else was contingent on Hefrani's status. And so it's the first time to realize, no, we might be cleared enough of medical visits that, Maggie could make the journey back to Fiji. And just sort of that realization of that shift that's starting to occur. So we haven't really spent a lot of time talking about what's next. We've been so focused on how do we play defense on what's been hitting us.
Absolutely. You're stable, Dan. You're stable.
Yeah, that's a new experience.
Moving into the house and meeting the neighbors and all that, everything's going okay with that?
Yeah. The neighbors are all welcoming. And, like when we said we wanted a community like Cadillac, we found a community that's like Cadillac, and so we're excited to get to know it better. But they're a welcoming group, and you go to the store and you only needed one item, but it takes you 45 minutes because you're talking to everybody is what I'm looking forward to here, just like we had in Cadillac.
How was Christmas, Maggie?
Oh, it was great. We had Dan's brother and his family came over, and it was really nice. It's the first time we've been together since a long time ago.
Now, Hefrani, did you get what you wanted for Christmas? Because you deserved it, kiddo.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we're getting ready to wrap up. Is there anything you want to tell all your friends and Cadillac folks?
We're giving space here to Hefrani as she's thinking about that. I guess I'd want to let them know how appreciative we are of all the different ways they supported us through this process, how much we miss them and love them, and just remind them our door is open. They can come for a visit and see Keene, New Hampshire.
Excellent. How about from you, Hefrani?
I really miss them.
Everybody misses you guys too. So thank you so much for carving time out of your schedules. And we're so glad that everything's going well. And you come back and see us too.
We'd like that.
Thank
We'd
you.
like that.
All right. God bless and Happy New Year.
Thank you. Thanks for having us on the show. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Smith family, for joining us. And Katy, we'll see you again 1 week from today.
Sounds good, my friend.
Cadillac Unscripted on 107.9 CDY. Thank you for joining us for Cadillac Unscripted on 107.9 CDY. Join us next week at 8:30 on Saturday morning for another edition of Cadillac Unscripted with yours truly and Katy Huckle. Sponsored by Baker College of Cadillac, Independent Bank, and RE/MAX Central, Mary Ann Quest.